Byron was living large, with a $1.4 million home in Northborough, a $2.4 million Kennebunk getaway, and millions more in assets. But the Kiss Cam scandal blew it apart. Now, Byron may be on the verge of losing it all. His CEO title at a $1.3 billion tech company, his network of billionaire friends, all in front of the most public divorce of the year. And with Massachusetts state law demanding a 50-50 split, how much of his fortune will survive? Will it actually be a 50-50 split? Or more? Buckle up as we will clarify how rich Andy Byron is, the real story behind his resignation, and the drastic decision his wife took to cool off before the divorce. To begin, we must admit, it's been a wild few weeks for the successful yet relatively unknown multimillionaire. But somehow, Andy Byron was able to pull off one of the most ridiculous CEO slip-ups of the last decade by showing up very publicly with a married woman to a very public concert. That's what happens when you are too comfortable with your side chick. And while the clip went viral and blew up social media, I still didn't find answers to a lot of my questions. Like, why did he have to step down when Bezos and other cheating CEOs kept their positions? What will he have left after the split? And who exactly was Andy Byron before the scandal? Oh, and wait till you hear what I found out about the other husband, the HR exec's husband. Shocking stuff. Now, let's rewind a bit. Before the Kiss Cam, before the scandal, and before Andy Byron's face was splashed across every feed from Reddit to Fox News. Andy Byron was born on September 14, 1974, in Hanover, Massachusetts, and grew up in Duxbury. He wasn't born rich. His parents were hardworking professionals, but hardly the kind of connections that opened doors. No silver spoons, just a steady dose of hustle. And that hustle stayed with him. But Byron was different. He refused the usual tech path. Instead, he attended Providence College, where he played baseball professionally and graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science. Yeah, political science. And that outsider energy became his edge, as you would see throughout his journey. Byron's first real swing at the corporate ladder came in the late 90s, just as enterprise software was shaking off its on-premise roots and inching toward the cloud. He found himself at BMC Software, a heavyweight in enterprise IT solutions. This turned out to be a rush. Back then, enterprise clients were pouring billions into modernizing outdated systems, and BMC was right in the thick of it, selling transformation at scale. At BMC, Byron wasn't just learning how to pitch software. He was learning how to navigate the chessboard of billion-dollar decision-making. These were the dot-com bubble years, and software firms like BMC were cutting deals the size of small IPOs. Multi-million-dollar contracts weren't outliers. They were expectations, and the pressure was immense. For Byron, this was where he sharpened his instincts. He watched veteran sales engineers charm, negotiate, and occasionally bulldoze their way through red tape. And he absorbed everything. Then came Blade Logic. This is where the name Andy Byron really started getting respect in the right rooms. Blade Logic wasn't just another IT firm, it was a rocket ship. And Byron was playing a key role. From 2002 to 2008, he helped take the company from startup to standout. When BMC acquired Blade Logic for a cool $800 million in 2008, Byron walked away with far more than a bonus. He walked away with a blueprint. Post-Blade Logic, Byron bounced to executive roles at Vericenter and Fuse. But it was Fuse, where he became president and COO, that tested his leadership muscle. Byron helped take Fuse from underdog to $100 million plus in revenue. In 2017, he joined Cybereason as CRO. And as you can guess, our boy pulled in a massive $70 million from backers like SoftBank and Dell. Now, things start getting interesting. By 2021, Byron was at Lacework, a cloud security firm that looked like the next Palo Alto Networks. And again, he helped the company raise a jaw-dropping $1.3 billion at an $8.3 billion valuation, one of the largest funding rounds in cybersecurity history. Now, here's something shocking. So, I found this video from an employee at the time. He said Andy and the other execs at Lacework pulled a little trick on them. They led employees to buy stock options, painting it as a golden opportunity. But off the radar, Andy and the top execs snagged company-backed loans to grab their own shares. loans that mysteriously got wiped clean later. Meanwhile, the regular workers, who'd poured in years of sweat and their hard-earned cash, got the short end. When Lacework got sold, their investments tanked, leaving them with next to nothing. Typical billionaire move. They get rich while you get the short end of the stick. Even after putting all that hard work, the billionaires don't give a rat's ass about you. This isn't proven yet. But yes, Andy Byron won at Lacework and moved on.
Came from. Andy Byron was the CRO, or the Chief Revenue Officer, at the time. Now, obviously hindsight is 20/20, but I always got bad vibes from the executive team at Lacework. Despite being an entry-level engineer, I couldn't help but feel like we were being lied to. We were working on way too much.
His next opportunity was astronomer. Byron was named CEO in July 2023. The company had massive clients like Apple, Uber, and Ford. And Andy tripled recurring revenue of the company in 2 years, and even recently secured $93 million in Series D funding. As CEO, he helped Astronomer secure multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts and kept its unicorn status legit, while other SaaS companies were getting ghosted by investors. So, if you're wondering how he made his money, Andy Byron built his wealth mainly through tech startup stints, clawing his way to C-suite roles and likely pocketing equity in those ventures. But the real goldmine was Astronomer, where, as CEO with a solid slice of a $1.3 billion company, he was set to rake in a fortune if the business kept climbing. But that won't be going as he initially planned, because of this.
Well, a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert turned up a lot more than people just happy to be shown on the big screen. It allegedly caught a...
And this.
Reaction to the story everyone's talking about. The CEO caught on kiss cam at a Coldplay concert, snuggling with his head of human resources. Today, there are serious questions whether they will be...
And this. So, just in case you're one of the 3 people who are hearing of this for the first time, here's the quick version. On July 16th, 2025, during a Coldplay concert at Gillette Stadium, Chris Martin's kiss cam landed on Andy Byron, who just happened to be caught mid-hug with Astronomer's chief people officer, Kristen Cabot. The moment turned awkward fast, and their panicked reaction on camera only made things worse. Well, enough of that. This isn't a reaction video, so we're going deeper. Now keep watching as we unpack what that viral moment could cost Andy in a high-stakes divorce, why he is the scapegoat for other cheating CEOs. But to do this, we have to figure out how much Andy Byron is actually worth. So, how rich is Andy Byron actually? By all reasonable measures, he is very rich. While he never reached the billionaire tier, Byron's net worth is estimated between $20 and $70 million. A recent analysis by the New York Times placed him closer to the $50 to $70 million range, largely due to his equity stake in Astronomer and prior compensation packages. Now, it's only logical to peg his wealth at about $60 million as of 2025. That makes him a solid multi-millionaire, even if his name doesn't carry the financial gravity of Silicon Valley's top dogs. As CEO of Astronomer, Byron's base salary hovered between $469,000 and $690,000 annually, with generous performance-based bonuses pushing him well past the $700,000 mark in most years. That's just salary. The real prize was equity. Given Astronomer's $1.3 billion valuation, even a modest ownership stake, say 2%, could easily mean $20 to $30 million on paper. Although Byron wasn't a founder, Astronomer launched in 2015. Joining as CEO meant he likely secured stock options as part of his deal. Combine that with whatever payouts or shares he took from previous gigs, and it's clear how he built an 8-figure net worth. Put simply, Byron was rich, and getting richer. Before his resignation, he was living the classic tech CEO life. Big salary, high-value equity, and growing prominence. But none of that could shield him from what came next. As Pete DeJoy, one of Astronomer's co-founders, put it, the scandal's impact was unusual and surreal. DeJoy said Astronomer had received a level of media attention that few companies, let alone startups in our small corner of the data and AI world, ever encounter. So now we know how much Byron earns. But the real question is, how much could he lose if this ends in divorce? But that all depends on how his wife's processing that kiss cam moment. And if she's already gearing up for payback? When you're too busy getting comfortable with your side chick, you rarely stop to think about the damage you're about to do, not just to your reputation, but to the people who once called you home. And no one knows that pain quite like Megan Kerrigan, formerly Megan Byron, the woman who once stood beside Andy Byron, the now disgraced CEO of Astronomer. But this one viral kiss cam moment has pulled apart the entire family that they have built over the years. Megan, 50, is no tabloid personality. She's a respected educator and currently serves as the associate director of the lower school at Bancroft School in Massachusetts, where she also oversees admissions for the Hope Graham program. Her career was one of steady professionalism. She was the type of woman who stayed off the radar, put family first, and never needed to prove herself online. That changed the night Coldplay played Boston, and Andy couldn't keep his hands to himself. When the infamous kiss cam clip exploded across the internet, Megan's first move was to protect her peace. She changed her name on her social media profiles from Byron back to Kerrigan, her maiden name. Then, she scrubbed her profiles of most family pictures. Finally, she deleted her Facebook account altogether. The response from the public has been mostly sympathy and encouragement. Drop a like if you're Team Megan, and hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying the video. Well, many women have rallied behind Megan, urging her to lawyer up and secure a financial settlement. But while Megan hasn't filed for divorce yet, her next steps speak volumes. Earlier this year, she and Andy had financed a home with a $2.4 million mortgage. But after the scandal, Megan packed her things and left their $1.4 million Northborough home. She moved to a $2.4 million mansion in Kennebunk, Maine, about 106 miles away. You know, peace isn't cheap, and Megan is choosing solitude, comfort, and the company of her close-knit family, including her older sister, to work through the trauma away from the headlines. As expected, she hasn't made any public statements. But silence doesn't mean weakness. Legally, she's in a powerful position. Massachusetts is an equitable distribution state, and after over a decade of marriage, any assets gained during that time are split 50-50. Andy Byron is estimated to be worth roughly $60 million. So, if the marriage dissolves, Megan could walk away with a sizable fortune, tens of millions, depending on how negotiations go. But for all the headlines and speculation about dollars, there's another cost few people talk about: the emotional toll on their children. Experts warn of lasting psychological effects from public family breakdowns like this. Counseling, therapy, and navigating life with one parent in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Those scars take longer to heal than financial ones. Megan may not have asked for this drama, but she is somehow doing her best to handle it well. But guess who nobody is checking on? Kristen Cabot's husband. So, Kristen Cabot's husband, Andrew Cabot, isn't just any man. He's old money, as in really old. Andrew comes from the storied Cabots of Boston, one of New England's most elite and historically influential families. He's the CEO and co-owner of Privateer Rum, a high-end distillery based in Ipswich, Massachusetts. But more than that, he's a sixth-generation descendant of the original 18th-century privateer, also named Andrew Cabot, who inspired the brand's entire identity. Now, let's talk numbers. The Cabot family made their fortune from shipping and what's been called the soot trade, manufacturing carbon black for tires. A 1972 New York Times article pegged their wealth at around $200 million back then. Adjusted for inflation and strategic investing, the family fortune now sits at a staggering $15.4 billion as of 2025. So yes, Kristen didn't just marry rich, she married into one of New England's wealth dynasties. In early 2025, Andrew and Kristen purchased a $2.2 million home in Rye, New Hampshire. And yet, all that money can't cushion every blow, especially not the kind that hits inside the home. Because, like so many stories of wealth, scandal, and power, there's more than just reputations at stake. There are children involved. And while the headlines may be filled with rumors and finger-pointing, behind the scenes are real families trying to make sense of public betrayal and private heartbreak. So, was the HR lady after Andy Byron's money? Honestly, who knows? Maybe she thought a tech CEO's potential future IPO riches would be exciting than rum money. Or she was just trying to diversify her portfolio, marrying old money but blowing new money on the side. Yo, Honestly, I don't know. But what I know is that this whole thing is messy. Now, let's see why exactly Byron is seen as a scapegoat. Let's be clear. Andy Byron's scandal is messy, but it's hardly a first in the executive world. High-powered CEOs blowing up their personal lives in full public view is practically its own genre at this point. Intel's former CEO, Brian Krzanich, lost his job over a workplace affair. But if you're looking for the crown jewel of CEO scandals, no one tops Jeff Bezos. The National Enquirer didn't just break the story. They leaked Bezos' private texts with former TV anchor Lauren Sanchez. The fallout? A headline-making divorce from Mackenzie Scott after 25 years of marriage, and a jaw-dropping $36 to $38 billion settlement in Amazon stock. Just like that, Mackenzie became one of the richest women on Earth. Now, Byron's situation looks like Bezos's in one key way. Both affairs went public, fast, and both ended long-term marriages. But here's where the paths split. Bezos owned his throne. Andy didn't. As the CEO of a venture-backed startup, Byron was never untouchable. He was accountable to a board, to investors, to optics. And after that now infamous kiss cam clip went viral, he went from visionary tech leader to brand liability overnight. Amazon's board backed Bezos in 2019. Astronomers' board? Not so much. And then there's the money. No one knows for sure whether Andy and Megan Byron had a prenup. But if they didn't, the financial damage could be massive. He may not be worth hundreds of billions, but even a $30 million settlement, relative to Andy's estimated net worth, is a brutal 50% haircut. That's not Bezos level, but still the kind of loss that leaves a very public scar. Now, Astronomer has moved on, installing interim CEO Pete DeJoy and distancing itself from the scandal. Byron's professional reputation is tarnished. In the tech industry, he'll be remembered at least for a while as that CEO caught on the Coldplay kiss cam. That's all for Andy's kiss cam story so far. Crazy, right? Subscribe and ring the bell to catch the next big story. Guys, people have started betting on the odds of the Byrons divorcing. Polymarket gave roughly a 1 in 4 chance of ending in divorce. Those probabilities seem a bit too low if you ask me. What's your prediction for the divorce and settlement? Leave it in the comments below. And thanks for watching.